where you are in a leadership role and you have came across maybe a comment, perhaps an email that challenged you in front of many, many people. How do you respond? In this video, I'm going to share with you what executive presence looks like in writing and what you should do if your authority is being challenged or someone's trying to give you a hard time or whatever the case may be. Now, this channel heavily focuses in on advanced communication skills and strategies. My intent here is to help you to be able to communicate more confidently and concisely when you are in those very high stakes, high pressure situations. If you're someone that is a woman in leadership or a man in leadership, or you are thinking about leadership, this channel will provide you with some insights that a lot of times people do not speak about when they are discussing how to communicate under pressure. Now, if you happen to be in my target audience of women in leadership, I provide executive coaching and consultation services directly to you. You're welcome to contact me at exciteexcellence.org and sign up for a strategy session or a high stakes communication intensive that will completely change how you communicate in those very highly visible, very public facing roles. Now, when you think about executive presence, what is the first word that comes to your mind? Put it in the comments below. I want to share with you that executive presence, a common misconception of it is that people think it is something, a trait that one, people think is like a mystical creature. It doesn't exist. I'm here to tell you it does exist. But the other myth that people think as it relates to executive presence is that it is something that is only in a visible sense or that people feel. Some of that is true, but we have to talk about what happens when this situation comes up when you need your executive presence in writing. I'm going to share with you a couple of things that can help you to keep this in mind so the next time when you're in a situation where you're reading a comment or you're reading an email and there's a long thread of people that are asking you questions or giving you a hard time, you understand what's the best way for you to respond to these situations. Now, I'm going to share with you a personal scenario that actually happened to me today to give you some insight in terms of how do I manage those very high stakes, high pressure situations, maintaining an executive presence and doing that in writing. I want to say hello to all of you joining the live today. If you have ever been challenged in a written format, maybe someone has written a not nice comment about you or typed an email that made you mad, let's talk about it. I will share with you how you can maintain your executive presence in writing, even if your authority is being challenged. Now, let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And if you've ever had any of those situations to happen to you, put them in the comments below, whether you are watching live or watching the replay. Now, if you are new to me, welcome, welcome. And if you are one of my amazing subscribers, welcome back, friend. So good to see you here today. Now, as I mentioned, I had two scenarios that happened to me earlier today. But before I go into that, in terms of your executive presence in writing, a lot of times people will learn about executive presence, and I have a lot of information here on my live tab that talks about executive presence. So you're free to take a look at any of that information. But I do want to let you know that executive presence can be felt in the written format as well. What happens a lot of times when there is a bit of a debate that is happening in writing, many times people will often respond in a very highly emotional way. The reason why people respond in a highly emotional way is because they do not take the time to look and observe what is being said in this particular writing, email, document, whatever it is that you are reviewing in a written format. Why do I say this? Because most of the time, we are providing a knee-jerk reaction, so to speak. If someone says something not nice about us, our first reaction is, how dare they? How dare they say something like that? And so our mindset of how dare they goes right to our fingertips and we start typing, we start texting, we start doing all kinds of things. If you take a few moments to think about it, it'll give you some time to process in terms of, is this something I need to respond to in a very calm way, or do I need to respond in a very highly emotional way? What should I do? I do want to tell you that it is always best to err on the side of caution when it comes to written communication. Let me know in the comments below. Have you ever been in a situation where the emotions just got the best of you as a leader? Maybe something happened, someone said something to you, and you responded in a very, very, very not nice way. Let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Thank you for the heart emojis and the celebration caps. As I mentioned, you can have an executive presence when you are writing and submitting some type of information to someone. It's important for you to keep that in mind. It's not only that type of situation where it's only when you're visibly in front of someone, it can happen in writing too. So let me share with you a couple of insights that will help you as it relates to developing your executive presence in writing. One, you want to remain very calm. I typically tell my clients don't respond immediately when you've received some type of writing or something along those lines that is making you upset. Take a few moments to think about it, read it, and follow some of the algorithms I talk about on this channel that will help you determine do you need to say something and how you need to say it. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I want to say hello to Tornado. How you doing today? Tornado, you have a question mark? Feel free to let me know what question you're talking about or what you're asking. One of the ways that I share with my audience, if you are in an under pressure situation, or perhaps you are being caught off guard, I have a way that I make those decisions. And the very first decision that I make, and I want you to use this the next time someone writes a bad comment about you or nasty email about you or something along those lines, you have to determine, is this comment friendly or is this comment unfriendly, or are you not sure? Now, I do this anytime I'm in an under pressure situation. I have to determine quickly, 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 where is this conversation going? What is the intent of this person? Now, even if you are in a written format, you still need to follow this specific type of algorithm I'm sharing with you. You have to determine, is this comment meant to be malicious? Is this comment meant to be supportive? Or is this comment one of those comments that is just simply in the middle? You have to determine that in a written format, whether you're looking at a comment, whether you are looking at an email someone sent to you or some other document. You have to figure that out quickly. I know a lot of people, if you are just starting out as leaders, or maybe you're a seasoned leaders, they struggle with that decisiveness and they don't know exactly, well, how do I figure it out? If you need some support with this and you're a woman in leadership, you're welcome to reach out to me directly. I'd be happy to give you some insight and some strategies on how you can pick up this pretty quickly. So that's the first thing that I do. The second thing is, if you find yourself in the middle where you're not sure if this comment is meant to be supportive or is not meant to be supportive, then I encourage you to just respond. Even if it's in the middle, you need to respond in the way that is more on the firm, direct side of a response, because you may not fully understand the person's intention of what they're trying to say. Now, let me share with you an example specifically that happened to me just a few moments ago. I would say this all happened probably about, it's 7:39, so it happened probably about an hour and a half ago. And I'll give you two scenarios, okay? Two scenarios for you to keep in mind if you're ever challenged in writing. I did a post here recently, actually today. I had a conversation with my audience yesterday about a situation that happened that is trending news, where the Vice President of the United States had a speech that he was delivering to a group in Iowa. And during the speech, he was trying to recall someone's name or read their name. And he said, I forgot where I'm lost myself here. And what happened is the audience, he lost the audience, so much so that the audience booed him. Now, I know this may be a topic, depending on how you feel about the vice president, that may make some people upset. That's not my intent. My intent is to share with you how you cannot lose your audience, because this channel heavily focuses in on those advanced communication skills and strategies to help you to not make these mistakes that people make. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to support you. I've been a public speaker for over 20 years. I've been in very friendly and very contingent situations. And I want you to not only, I want you to not be an average leader. I want you to be an exceptional leader. And the way you become exceptional is by learning the mistakes that people are making so that you don't make them. Now, The reason I mentioned this statement specifically is because I did that as a YouTube short. It's a live highlight that YouTube picks out of my lives and says this looks like it might be pretty good. So I decided to use it as a short. Now I published this on my channel and I received a response back from a comment from someone. Now, I will share with you the comment itself. Of course, I'm not going to read it necessarily verbatim. You're welcome to take a look at the video. It's very easy to find. It's a short that talks about JD Vance being booed. But the comment itself said that a couple of words stood out to me. And so this was my decision making tree, that my algorithm, so to speak, that I use even when I'm in a written format. I had to determine, is this comment intended to be friendly or unfriendly? If you want to make it in simplistic terms, friendly or unfriendly. And I looked at the comment and I said, how can I determine this? I found out the comment was borderline unfriendly. And let me explain to you why. There were certain words that were used in the comment that were words that I felt like, okay, these are indications or signs that this person's intent may not necessarily be supportive. It may be the contrary. The words that came up in the post or in the comment were silly, that basically I was being silly, young lady, and being human. It's sad that people are cruel. So I mention this because these are words for me personally that I'm picking up on that are being said in this particular post. So when you hear words like that, that are very highly emotionally charged words, you have to automatically go in a direct way, not in a supportive way. You still don't necessarily have to be mean, but you do truly have to respond in a more direct way. Now, if you are a woman in leadership, and I'm specifically talking to the women in leadership, and just for this particular part, is as a women in leadership, sometimes it may be a little bit different. Let me see what's going on in the chat. We have Ches. Hope you're doing well. Someone please give me context. Ches, we are talking about executive presence in a written format. So this channel heavily focuses in on advanced communication skills and strategies. If you're interested in becoming that leader, that individual that is not average, that is above average and exceptional when you are speaking to a group of people, then this is the absolute best channel for you. You will learn a lot of priceless insights here on this channel to how to communicate confidently and concisely under pressure. Now, specifically for the women in leadership, there's a couple things that I keep in mind when I am reading posts or reading comments that people make. If the comment itself seems cordial and it doesn't seem like it's being argumentative, then I respond in that same type of way. Now, if the comment itself starts saying things about, oh, you're pretty and things, you have to determine, okay, well, what's the intent here? If it happens to say something along the lines of, young lady, that may be okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you start seeing words that say young lady, silly, cruel, sad, all of that, then you have to know that, okay, this is a conversation where this person is taking it the wrong way. Now, to give you the other side of that, one of my followers named Teddy Mitchell commented on the same post. Now, let me tell you what Teddy said. Teddy said, hello, young lady. It's been a while. Happy belated Mother's Day. I hope you have a great week. I believe that is. And I'll give a shout out to Teddy for saying that. Was young lady in that statement? Yes, it was. But I was able to pick up pretty quickly that Teddy, one, is a subscriber to the channel. But then two, Teddy wasn't saying these very highly emotionally charged words like silly, cruel, morality, and all these type of things. So I responded as I normally would. Why am I sharing this with you? Because depending on what is being said, the entire context of it, you have to look at it very, very carefully to determine what's the best way for you to respond. This will help you whether you are a leader, whether you are a content creator, an influencer, a CEO, an entrepreneur, or you are just working at another employment opportunity. If you receive something in writing, don't be that person that goes up on the deep end and starts just typing mad, texting mad. Don't do that. If you don't learn anything from this video, Remember, you can still have your executive presence even when your authority is challenged in a written format if you take a moment to observe and really read into what is being said. Now, I talk about this a lot on my channel, and for those of you who are new, I have a lot of content here that helps you to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure. There's a couple videos that you are welcome to look at. These I would call my fundamental videos if you're trying to communicate in those very high stakes, high pressure situations. Any video on my live tab that talks about thinking on your feet, managing your emotions under pressure, eye contact. Look out for my cowboy analogy. That's my analogy for eye contact. It will change your life. Look for any videos that talk about your tone of voice, any videos that talk about managing difficult conversations. Those are very, very much basic fundamental conversations or videos on my live tab that will absolutely help you. Now, I want to know from you, have you ever been in a situation where someone sent you a email that was not friendly or was very mean? Maybe you've been in a situation where you're a content creator or you're an influencer like myself, and you found yourself in a situation where somebody left you a nasty comment or maybe a not so friendly comment. Have you ever been in a situation like that? If you have, put it in the comments below and let's talk about it. All right, we have Ed Brook. Welcome back, Ed. How are you doing today? Ed says, "Do you remember me?" Yes, Ed, I do remember you. Welcome, welcome back. So we talked about how you can maintain your executive presence in writing. Be very calm. It's the process is still the same as it is if you're trying to determine if you're going into an under pressure situation or not under pressure situation. So take a moment, read over the message. I encourage you to read the message at least three times so that you can truly get the grasp of what is being said. Sometimes when we receive those responses that are really rude or very contentious, we may read them once and say, "Oh, no, I have to handle this." You don't want to do that. Read it a couple times to make sure that you are responding in the right way and you are gaining what is the intent of the message. Now, if you determine, as I mentioned, you got to determine quickly, okay, very quickly when you read a comment like this to maintain your executive presence. Is this friendly or unfriendly? And you respond accordingly. When you respond back, you respond in a very calm way that represents the facts. For instance, the message or the comment that I had, the very first one I mentioned to you, where the gentleman was saying, "Young lady, silly, cruel," all those. You can look at the comment on my JD Vance was booed video, my short I just posted today. But if you look at my response back, I stated the facts. The facts are as follows. My intent is to help you not make any mistakes when you're speaking in front of a group of people, and you will make a mistake like that. If you do, you will be booed, and I stated it very clearly in my comment. JD Vance was booed. I personally don't care what JD Vance does. I'm just sharing my audience so that they can make sure that they don't make this mistake and forget completely who they're talking to and forget where they are in their speech and say it out loud. I don't do that. I want my audience to be the people that don't do that make novice mistakes like that. And I stated that he was booed. He was actually booed. This is something that happened. It was not me being somebody that was cruel and saying that, oh, well, JD Vance isn't a human. That's not the case. We all know he's a human and we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And I agree with that 100%. But ultimately, the audience booed him. It was not Dr. Jacinta. I was not there, and nor would I have booed anybody. But the audience booed him. And if the audience booed him, that means there was a disconnect in the message he was sending. Now, the audience booed him as soon as he was looking through his papers and forgot the woman's name he was trying to say. And he was asking somebody, he said, "I've forgotten, I've lost my place here." Okay. Once he said that, what happened? Boo, boo. And that was from the audience. So this is the best way for you to disconnect, disengage, make your audience upset is by doing something like that that shows you just did not take that time to be prepared in terms of what you were going to communicate with them. All of this is to say, If you look at the comment that was made and how I responded, that is how you can still showcase executive presence in action and in writing. Be objective, don't be emotional. Think about what's being said and just state your point and go along your way. That's all you have to do. You don't have to go into a ton of detail unless you feel like it's appropriate because other people are watching it. But ultimately, you want to respond in a very concise, calm way, even if it is in writing and that person is not directly in front of you. Now, I want to know from you, have you ever been in a situation like that before? And if you have been, let me know in the comments below. Many of you know that I'm trying to build the largest high stakes, high pressure communication library for leaders on planet Earth right here on YouTube. So if you want to be a part of that, definitely join. Okay, let's see what we have going on. So Ed is saying I'm back. Okay. Chaz, man of culture, says, can't I just ignore the comment? Okay, Chaz, you can. You can ignore the comment. However, it depends. And let me explain to you, Chaz, why it depends. If a comment like that comes to you and you have your YouTube channel, I see here, and if you want to share a little bit about your channel, that would be happy to share it with the audience here. But if a comment comes that way, you can ignore it. It depends, it's fine. However, if you are trying to show your audience that you can handle yourself under pressure, then you may not want to ignore the comment. Chaz, let me give you an example. I have been live here on YouTube for a while. So much I'm on YouTube's live stream and research panel. I've been on that for the past year. And on this channel specifically, as your audience grows, so do the trolls. Just this is just something that is a reality to everybody that is a content creator on YouTube. Now, I'll have situations to come up where I will have people come in the chat, not today, but people will come on the chat and they will say offensive things. I've been called a B for some reason. I've been called very offensive words as it relates to my ethnicity. I have been called a lot of nice, unfriendly things here, Chaz. Now, I can ignore those comments, and I can, but if I want to prove a point and show my audience that, okay, this is a teaching moment, and specifically for me, Chaz, I'm a high stakes communication strategist. So I deal with under pressure, complex situations. For me, if I just were to ignore a comment, then I'm not showing my audience this is how you handle yourself under pressure. Are there comments and situations you ignore? Yes. If it's completely ridiculous, Chaz, like Chaz, if someone says something nonsense, okay, something nonsense, and I wouldn't say this, but I'm just saying something that is just completely ridiculous. It's Chaz, someone says, I don't like your name, Chaz. Now, I mean, that's ridiculous. Okay, keep moving on. If someone says, well, Chaz, if you're live on YouTube, I don't like your glasses if you wear glasses, or I don't like your haircut if you have a haircut, then such certain situations like that you just completely ignore. But if someone is trying to challenge your authority or your expertise and trying to undermine you, Chaz, those are situations where I would highly recommend for you not to avoid making a comment. Don't make I want you to make a comment in those situations because you just don't want to have a situation where someone's trying to undermine your authority publicly in front of a lot of people. That is an absolute no, no, no. That is something that I truly want to make sure that this is something that doesn't happen to you. So as I mentioned, it depends. I have people making silly comments sometimes that are so ridiculous I can't even talk. I mean, I just keep going. But if it's a situation where someone says something that's very offensive or something that is trying to undermine my what I'm building here with my audience that I absolutely love and adore, they've been so wonderful, then yes, I will respond back to it. So it depends, Chaz. Depends on how you want people to perceive you as. If you want to be perceived as the person that just lets stuff just kind of slide, fine. If you want to be the person that is presenting yourself as, no, I will let some things slide, but I will be discerning to determine what it is I want to let slide and what I do not want to let slide, then you definitely want to make a comment instead of just ignoring it. I hope that gives you some context to think about it because with you having a YouTube channel, this is something that comes up all the time, friend. You will get just the most random things, especially if you are consistent in your posting. It comes up a lot here. Ed Brooks says, "You are so nice." Well, thank you, Ed. Good to see you again, friend. I appreciate that. So, I shared with you why executive presence is important when you're in writing. This goes for any emails you may receive, any comments you may receive on your social media platforms, even your reviews on Google. I was at a meeting with the Broward County Public Schools about how long ago now? Almost 2 months now. No, well, yeah, about 2 months. And they had the CEO of Better Business Bureau there, and they talked about how important it is to make sure you respond to complaints or situations or reviews or etc. Responding is important. It shows that you are able to handle yourself under pressure. So I would highly recommend for you to do that. If there's a comment that is just completely nonsense, ridiculous, then you can always delete it from your channel and hide it if you feel like you need to. But for the most part, I would strongly encourage you if you're trying to build up yourself as someone that can communicate in those very high stakes, high pressure situations, and content creation happens to be one of those, in my very humble opinion, then you absolutely want to respond to some of those comments. And that's why having an executive presence in writing is important. People will remember how you respond. If you respond in a highly emotional way, they will see, okay, this person just completely lost it and they're mad. But if you respond in a way that is very direct, that is very much focused on what's being said and focused on the facts, then you should always be safe. Now, if there's a situation where, let's say, you are biased, and I say this because I could tell the person that left a comment is probably definitely pro JD Vance, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, the way the comment was being made, it was basically saying that what I was doing was mean and cruel, and this is why the world's so sad today, or something like that. You can look at the comment on the my short video about JD Vance being booed, but to assume that I'm doing this because I don't like JD Vance was completely far from the point. That was not the point. The point of me showing this is that if you forget about your audience, you will get booed. And nobody wants to get booed. Getting booed is the worst. That is the worst thing that can happen to a public speaker. Losing your place, saying you lose your place, and all that causes you to get booed. And the part about it that makes it really sad is that these are people. You have to put it in perspective, and I hope that person watched the actual full video. But as a public speaker and as a leader, you have to put it in perspective. Okay? If you are speaking in front of a group of people that have either paid to come see you or they came out of their free will and paid nothing to come see you, they still invested either their time or their energy to come and see you. If you have these people that are here and you're speaking to, and remember, these people woke up that morning and said, I want to go see the vice president today. Fantastic. That's great for them. So remember, if people are coming to see you and they're coming to listen to you, and they see that you've completely lost it and they boo you, then you have to really take that seriously as a public speaker because it goes beyond just someone being mean. These are actually people that are obviously friendly that want to hear somebody. And if they are there wanting to hear somebody and they boo them, I'm sorry, as a public speaker, you have to take that seriously. And that is a lesson I want my audience to learn in terms of how to not lose your audience, how to not get booed. No one wants to get booed. Remember, when people are coming to listen to you speak, they're coming to listen to you. Okay, they're coming to listen to you. They are expecting you to deliver some message, whether it's a message of motivation, a message of inspiration, a message of hope, a message of a solution. They're coming to see you. And if you have been so disconnected with the message that you're sending to the point where they have to say boo to you, it's a problem. It's a problem. And this is a mistake that happens to public speakers often. If many of you have ever seen the Apollo show years ago, what would happen when they had somebody on stage and the person did not perform the way they wanted them to have wanted them to perform? Let me know if I'm am dating myself in terms of the Apollo. If you've ever seen that show, put it in the comments below. Let me know. But on the Apollo show, literally people would come out, for those of you who do not know, and they would perform, they would sing, they would dance, they would do all kinds of things. And if the audience felt as if they were not performing right, they would get a guy or person come out with a cane and grab the person and take them off stage and boo them. As I mentioned, the people that were on the Apollo, they paid money to go there. They invested their time to get dressed to go there. And if someone boos you and you are there and they're paying to see you, you are doing something incorrectly as a speaker, as a performer, whatever it is that you're doing. So please, please, friends, don't make this mistake. Please don't make this mistake. When you are speaking to a group of people, always remember your audience, because if you don't remember your audience will forget about you. Okay, let me see. Chess, man of culture, says, to be fair, you can't dictate how an audience responds to your message. Well, there's some truth to that. However, you can, majority of the time, have an idea if you learn about your audience and what's going on. And I'm sharing this with you because I've been a public speaker for over 20 years. I'm a distinguished Toastmaster, and only 1% of their 358,000 members accomplished this award. So I've done a lot of public speaking specifically as it relates to that. Now, sometimes your audience can respond in a different way, but most of the time, Chaz, it's all about knowing your audience. You have to know your audience. So let's do an example. And this may be something I do in a pre-recorded video at some point in time. So let's say specifically in the vice president's case. He came to the event, and how could this have potentially went in a different way? What could have happened that would have improved the situation where he would not have been booed? Because I don't want him to be booed. I mean, I hate that happened. Some of the things he probably could have did, and I talk about this specifically as it relates to public speaking, is when you're doing a presentation or speech, it needs to feel like a conversation. Why? Because when people are going to listen to people do speeches and etc., we want to feel like that person is just talking to us. And this is a secret I'm sharing you, because a lot of times people will come to speeches or they'll do their presentations and they are just reading from a piece of paper and they're reading what they have to say, and then that's the end. Now, if you choose to do that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with you having some talking points. That's your personal business. But I'll tell you what I do as a public speaker. I do not do notes unless it's something very complicated, but you will probably not see me using notes whatsoever, because I want my conversation with my audience to feel like a conversation. Imagine if you were talking to someone, having a conversation, and you got a piece of paper and we're talking to them and say, "Oh, by the way, how was your weekend?" "Oh, it was good. Okay, great. Mine was good too." It would feel so incredibly awkward, okay? If you're trying to be an exceptional public speaker or an exceptional communicator, hopefully you subscribe to my channel. But if you are trying to do that, then you want to make your audience feel like you're having a conversation. So I would say, as vice president, if it was me, I personally would not come to a conversation like that with talking with a paper. I mean, I wouldn't be flipping papers to speak to my audience, people that have potentially voted for me. There's no way I would do that. I would speak to those people from what's in here and what I feel like they need to hear. If there were some talking points, maybe somebody's name I needed to memorize, like such as his case, he needed to memorize somebody's name. Maybe there's some statistics I need to share. Maybe there's something specific that might be highly complex for me to share. Then I would take some time before I actually had that speech with those individuals to commit them to memory. That's it. I would commit them to memory. Now, can you rehearse your speech and memorize it? Of course you can. Of course. But when you're at that level, there's a certain amount of impromptu or thinking on your feet that you have to be able to do just like that. And he does that. This particular instance, I'm not sure what happened. It seems a bit out of norm for him, and I believe I'm probably gonna do a recorded video because I do want to watch and see exactly how this happened, because most of his speeches, I haven't watched a ton of his speeches, but most of his speeches, I don't believe he's reading a piece of paper. So if he's having to read a piece of paper, then he's probably obviously clearly he has a lot going on. But I have to watch that. I'm actually gonna do a video because I would like to see, how did we get here? How did we get to the point where he's getting booed giving a speech? But nonetheless, I would have taken some time to memorize whatever statistics, whatever name they wanted me to say. in my head. So it looks like a conversation. So, Chaz, when you're trying to have these conversations with individuals, sometimes you can't dictate how the audience responds, but you should be able to have some idea in terms of how they respond. For example, okay, he's in Iowa. Okay, Iowa is in the Midwest. You know that they may be struggling with farming, they may be struggling with other things. Those are topics that you can talk about freely that are important to your audience. That will give you some insight in terms of what's important to them. What are the challenges they're facing right now? Everybody's dealing with challenges with gas right now and fuel. I just went to the gas station earlier today and it was $5.04 a gallon. Wow, it was just $3.39 about a month and a half ago. So everybody's struggling with that. Those are talking points that I would talk about if I was in the vice president situation. I would speak from my heart and my mind. I wouldn't speak from a piece of paper. I just don't believe that is the right way for you to be able to engage your audience. And that's just me as a public speaker. Many people do it all the time. We talked about this earlier in a couple, I say probably a couple months ago, where there was a public official that was reading from a piece of paper, and the person lunged out of the audience, lunged out and sprayed some stuff on her. I think it was Ilian Omar. She was in some town hall meeting. She was reading a piece of paper, and they just jumped out and sprayed some unknown substance at her. And I mentioned during that time on the live, I am really unfortunate that that happened to her. I don't think anyone should come to any public events intending to do harm on anyone at all. That's not why we're here. That's not why we're here to communicate. We don't communicate in a violent way. But this is the reason why I do not use notes when I speak to people, because I need to have my eyes looking at everything to know exactly what's going on. It's going to be a little bit difficult to be able to look around at everything and see what's going on if your eyes and your head is are down trying to read a script. Now, that's my very humble opinion, Chiz, in terms of how I would potentially manage that differently if I was able to speak to the vice president and say, you know what, maybe just commit a couple of those talking points to memory. And even if you're busy, just commit maybe one or two talking points to memory and just ad lib everything else. That's it. Just speak from your heart. He's obviously very educated and knowledgeable, but just speak as you normally would speak. That is how I would do it. And Ches, that's why it's so important for you to be able to put yourself in a situation where you understand your audience. Yes, sometimes reactions can be odd and you may not know about the audience and what they're thinking, but majority of the time, Ches, when you're a public speaker, that's your job. Your job is to know what's going on with your audience, to know what are they going to like, what are they not going to like. And if you can't figure that out, then you're not doing your job as a public speaker. And that's in my very, very humble opinion from Dr. Jacinta. There's all kinds of ways for us to talk about this. And I know we've been talking about this subject for a while. But when it comes to writing, you still follow the same decision algorithm I talk about as it relates to identifying how you should respond. Should it be something that is a friendly response, or should you be a bit more direct because you know this person is trying to challenge you and give you a hard time? Determine that quickly. Take a few moments, at least read the response at least two times, at least three, especially if you anticipate it being somewhat contentious. You don't want to respond in a way that is, I would say, excessive compared to what is being said. You don't want to be that overly highly emotional person. You want to be very objective, very calm. That's why I would recommend to read a response at least two or three times so you can get a sense of what the context was and then just respond with facts. I will share with you the person that made a comment on my YouTube channel, on my video specifically about JD Vance being booed on the short. When I read his comment, do I feel like he was being rude, offensive, and mean? No, I don't. I read his comment multiple times to make sure I had the right context, because this is somebody I personally do not know. I don't know if they've watched my content before, but I don't know them. But I did not feel that that was the intent. However, because there were some words that were being said that to me indicated that there may have been some intent there, I would respond in a more direct way instead of being more friendly compared to the message I sent, the comment I had to Teddy Mitchell as it relates to saying hello to me. I hope this gives you some insight and some strategies for you to think about when you're in those very high stakes, high pressure situations. There are ways for you to maintain your executive presence in all aspects of your professional life. But today we talked a bit more about doing that in writing. If you are a woman in leadership and you need some additional support, contact me at exciteexcellence.org. If you want to really, truly, truly change how you communicate under pressure, you absolutely want to sign up for my high stakes communication intensive. It will completely change your life. There are no other programs like it right now. And if you are a man in leadership or someone that is thinking about leadership, spend some time on my live tab. I guarantee you, you'll learn something here that will help you. Keep in mind, I do go live pretty often. When you go through the lives, because some of them tend to be longer depending on the engagement that happens, there may be parts where you have to fast forward through it. But just take a look at some of them. Learn as much as you can. I'm here really to support you on your journey. If you have any situations that come up when you're watching the videos and you are asking a question, just like Ches asked earlier, shouldn't can't you just ignore a comment? Anything like that, feel free to put it in the comments. I will respond to you. And if it's something that I believe requires a bit more depth, I will absolutely record a video just for you and give you a shout out. I don't want you to go through these challenging situations on your own. I don't want you to feel as if I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. I don't know when to say it. I don't know what to do. I don't want that. Come to me with the hard things, the hard situations, the complex situations you're dealing with. I've been in senior executive roles. I've been a director. I've been a C-suite for over 20 years. I've been in very friendly and very contentious situations. I've interacted with congressional leaders on the national and the local level here in the Sunshine State of Florida. And I've been in those situations and I understand how critically important it is to deliver the right message and be able to maintain your composure when you're thinking on your feet so that when you are asked a question that tends to be a bit under pressure, you know exactly how to handle it. Many people will try to tell you what to do, say this, say that. But my job as an executive coach and consultant is to rewire your thinking so that when those under pressure situations happen, you have an instant reflex in terms of, I know I need to respond this way. It's not something where, oh, let me think about this leadership model. Let me think about this hypothesis. Let me think about this theory. No, you don't have time for hypotheses and theories when someone's asking you a question and challenging you in real time. I know that may hurt some people's feelings on YouTube because that's what they focus on, but this is the only channel that has high stakes, high pressure communication strategies in a live setting on YouTube. So I'm here to support you any way that I can. Let me know what questions you have and what type of videos you'd like to see, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.